Okay, now I have a mic. You should be able to hear me now. Yeah, I could have swore I hit that button, but I guess not. Sorry about that. Let me get back to what I was doing. Okay. All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. If it's evening for anybody out there, today's Monday, March 6th. And the last we were working on this painting was Saturday. We worked on it on Saturday. And good morning, Thinker. And I did see your question and I was about to answer it when you let me know my mic wasn't on, so I appreciate that. It's working good now. Okay, so on Saturday, yes, I left out all these colors here. I just kept them on the palette. It's a good opportunity. Yes, nice to hear your melodic tones. Thank you. Most of these piles of paint that come right out of the tube will stay wet. Like, for instance, especially these lighter colors will be very wet. Like my Hansa Yellow Medium's just fine. They may get a little bit thicker almost, like because I don't use any medium at the start. You may find them a little bit harder to work with. And usually, you know, sometimes what I'll do is I'll go through here and I'll just make sure that they're the right viscosity, the right consistency. And all of these will be, because I've painted with these colors so often. I know how long it takes for them to get too thick. The only ones I worry about is ultramarine, sap green, and especially burnt umber. The burnt umber will be dry right now. But so if I, you know, I can't, what happens, it kind of skins over. I don't know if you could see that, but it's got a skin on it. And so I'll just pull that whole daub off the canvas or off the palette. But one thing I will say is I have, what my palette is sitting on is actually some canvas panels that, actually, there's a square canvas panel, and my palette sits right inside of that. And there's two other canvas panels that kind of fold over top of it, that keep it kind of enclosed. If that's... Yeah, hold on one second. I'm behind on the stream. That's interesting. I accidentally paused it, I guess. So, I do have a cover for this palette so that things stay wet a little bit longer. And even, also another thing you can do, I did some research a while back on clove oil. And if you want your paint to stay wet for longer, you add clove oil into it. Although that's going to affect, you know, fat over lean. Then I also did some research on it and saw that a lot of artists in the past, you know, master artists that used clove oil a lot, the restorers of their paintings were having a lot of trouble with those paintings because of the clove oil for some reason. Now we're talking hundreds of years here, right? I just want this painting to survive or until it can sell. No, I would like for it to survive more than that, but I'm still worried about getting good. So I don't really mix clove oil into my paint, but what you can do is I have this little tray here. It's just a aluminum foil with a cotton swab on it. And then I have a, what do you call it? A dropper here with clove oil, and I put like a full dropper of clove oil on that cotton swab, and I set it in there with the palette. So the palette's clean, this one's sitting in here and it's all covered, and the fumes from the clove oil help keep everything wet as well. So pretty interesting. Sometimes I will even cover it with a bag, my whole setup here, so that, yeah. You could also put your palette in a freezer. Thinker says I have a chest freezer and keep my palette frozen between sessions. That's a good idea. The only thing you have to worry about is you do have to take your palette out, you know, sometime before you start painting. Because when it gets, especially if you're using a glass palette, what'll happen, well, any palette really, you'll get condensation on it and you don't want water to mix with your oil. Because, well, it won't mix because water doesn't mix with oil very well. Okay, let's get to painting. We could talk about all that more while we're working. Whole day off. I need to get to it. I'll probably need to get more yellow before the day is out. I'm going to start really intense this morning with these colors. And then we'll see where we can take it. Sometimes I like to have a lot of fun with the way I mix up paint. Here's one way you can do it. Because you kind of know your paint mixtures, right? I know kind of what I want. So sometimes I'll put right in the center this big dollop of white. And then you can, you know, pull it out in these kind of, you know, just having fun with it. And what you do, at the end of each of these little arms of white, you put one of your paint colors on there. And I'm just using my paper towel to wipe off each of those colors sometimes. And let's go with red instead of orange on this one. And then you mix like crazy. Especially in the center. Let's even bring some burnt umber into this one. Very warm mixture. Everybody's looking at this going, oh my god, it's mud. Like mud is a bad thing. I hear that all the time with oil painting. Well, you don't want to make mud. Yes, you do actually. Mud is a neutralized color. Mud doesn't really describe anything. So we need to get an idea of what mud actually is. Mud is a neutralized color. It is the opposite of a saturated color. And in order for your saturated colors to look saturated, you need that mud in some places, okay? So it is actually a good thing. What I like to do this because, and that looks like a lot of like Caucasian skin tones. Actually, my palette is more set up for, figurative work, but I like to do this because I can really get in there and make some mixtures that maybe I've never seen before, right? And just really kind of throw things around. One thing I'm not including in here is a nice blue on this side. And really just have some fun with it. And see where you can take it. There's a point within your oil painting and your learning when you kind of cross a threshold, and I feel like I'm getting to that, where all the rules and everything just kind of fade out a little bit, and you have enough knowledge and you have enough faith in your own skill that you feel like you don't need those rules, or you can tease the edge of them. You can tease the changing of them in some ways, and really kind of begin to branch out. And you're no longer, really afraid of putting crazy colors down in some places. And we were doing that with with the digital version of this painting. And that was a lot of fun. Just having some fun sometimes. I'm going to be doing, eventually, I have so many plans, and I'm working through them one at a time. I'm going to be doing a video about how to get into oil painting cheaply. And I'm excited about it because I can't wait to go to the art store and buy the cheapest paints and everything that I can find. I'll probably stay away from the student paints and see if I can get really cheap non-student oil paints. We'll see. It depends on the colors. And I want to do a painting with super cheap paints. So the colors I'm adding in right now are pretty far away from what we had on there before. And I'm literally not worried about it. And why am I not worried about it? Because it's so easy. Like if those colors are okay, like if they work in value, which right now their value is good. I say right now because it depends on relativity, right? Right now their value is good. When we glaze, I'll change that color anytime. I could change their color right now, no problem. So I'm not really worried about it. And I remember from last stream, I was too saturated with everything. So I'm going to bring a green to this whole mess. There you go. Then I'm going to mix up a darker color, which honestly I should have got my darker brush out for that. I think I just changed this brush into my dark brush. Yep, sure did. Which that happens sometimes. That's really green. I want some red in there. Let's go for transparent earth orange. And a little bit naphtha scarlet. Yeah. Yeah, many times I'll just start out randomly on a painting. Just in, kind of one location. Just playing around. And then, like right now, I'll get a bit serious about it. And look at the values, look at the colors. And then start to really get into it. It's kind of a good introduction into the day, into the painting. All right, switching to another brush. This will be my new light brush. And what I would like to mix up, I do like this alizarin permanent transparent earth orange mixture. Although that was way too much alizarin permanent and it completely killed that transparent earth orange. I put so little paint out. Well, it's not so little of paint that I can't go a full painting session with it. I used to tell people, put out a bunch of paint so that, you know, you're not so stingy with it. But that's not very efficient, honestly. I would say, well, the more you paint, the more you'll understand how much you need during each session, especially of each color, because you'll need different between each, you know, different amounts of paints for each color. And try to put out just a little bit more than you know you need for the session. A little bit of green in here to neutralize this color. For the paints that you know will dry overnight or really quickly, I would say put out even less of those. Because I don't want you to waste paint. But at the same time, I don't want you spending half of your time putting out color on the canvas. You know, if you know that you paint really thick and you really, you know, you get out the shovel and you put the paint on there, don't put out these little daubs of paint, and don't buy really expensive small tubes of paint either. Buy the really cheap oil paint. You know, if you want to put out that much paint, buy cheap paint. I can't remember where I read this, but some historian had said that the paints, the worst paints that we have on the market right now, the cheapest student paints you can get, are still better than what Rembrandt used. I'm not sure how true that is, but if you think about it, the advancements in, you know, technology and paint over time, it seems like it could be accurate, right? But at the same time, it's kind of like, okay, oil paint is pretty simple, right? What is in it? You have a pigment, and pigments will stay the same, you know, well, except for something like alizarin permanent, because there used to be alizarin crimson, which was, you know, probably some other type of pigment, some kind of crushed rock or something probably. But most of these would be the same, like ivory black is, you know, or burnt umber. I think it's loam or something like that, which whatever loam is, I'm not sure what loam is, but I know that's what burnt umber is made of. I'm pretty sure that material hasn't changed in hundreds and thousands of years, right? But maybe we have refined the linseed oil a bit more. Got it from better plants, better mixing aspects. Yeah, I don't know. Better processing of those materials? Maybe. Anyway, just guessing. But I'm interested in that theory, so I'm going to be testing it out at some point. I'm going to be going and buying like really cheap paints. Maybe I will get the student paints. Yeah, Thinker, when you said you had a chest freezer, which I'm guessing is one of those big floor freezers where you can put like half of a cow in there and keep it frozen. I was thinking about when I was really young, we had one of those old refrigerators. It wasn't a refrigerator. It was like a chest cooler or something they would call it. All wood with some metal on the inside and one door that you opened up, and that's where the you put the ice in. Big block of ice. Keep everything else cold. Remember that. We had that for a while as an antique. Maybe it wasn't an antique when I was young. 75? Yeah, probably still an antique. We never used it. It was just decorative. We put stuff in it that wasn't for food. Oh, that's right. We had alcohol in it when I was young. I remember that. It was a great place for alcohol. I mean, for what did not need to get refrigerated. I want to lighten up this side over here. All right, that's bugging me. I'm pretty sure that this stripe under the eye is just canvas. Or did I mix up a gray that was exactly the color of the canvas and put it there? Not sure. Can't remember. I have to look back at the tape. Like there's tape. And one thing that's hard at this point, that you'll run into as well, is all of this dark color that we put on 2 or 3 days ago. It's completely dry to the touch. I can maybe scrape it off. No, I can't even scrape it off with my fingernail. And when those darker colors dry, they tend to get very dull. And I'm not oiling out at this stage of the painting. I don't want to do that. You did paint the stripe under the eye. Okay, thank you. I'm glad you remembered that. I appreciate it. I had a question, or I got a question recently. And I think, if I get one question from someone, I'm pretty certain that there's hundreds, if not thousands of people that have the same question. The question was, how do you clean your brush between colors? And my simple answer was I don't. I don't clean my brush between colors. First of all, I have 2 brushes, usually 3 or 4 brushes going, depending on the complexity of the painting. And what you want to do is, I have a dark and a light. So for these really darker areas, I'll have a dark brush. For the light brush, for the lighter areas, I'll have a light brush. And usually the reason why people care about that or are worried about it is because they don't want to make mud in their colors. So they feel like if even the tiniest bit of another hue is inside of the color that they're mixing, that it's mud. Now, I guess if you're working in a very kind of illustrated way. And you need to have these very flat, very exact colors. You would have to worry about that, but you don't really have to worry about it here. I used to be like that. Honestly, years and years ago, I would have a can of solvent right in front of me the whole time, open. And for every time I changed color, I would dip my brush in there, swish it around, wipe it out with a paper towel. That has probably contributed to, some health concerns that I have today. Definitely. Having that solvent just kind of wafting up into your face, like through your whole painting session, is not good. So what you do is, like, kind of what I'm doing right here is I have my paper towel and I'm just kind of squeezing out most of if I feel like I need to change a color that's pretty extreme, I'll squeeze out most of the color that's in there, then make an adjustment and keep moving forward. That's all you need to do, really. What I'm doing here is I'm darkening up the stripes under the eye. I want them a little bit darker right now. But I'm doing it with broken color. And a purple. It needs to be darker. I wish I had a zoom lens on my camera here that's showing the tiger painting, because then I could zoom way in and show you. Maybe you if you have a big screen, you can see all the, all these colors are very separate right now. I almost dipped into white with my dark brush. See, that's the thing that you have to get used to, is when you use separate brushes, is remembering, which one you're on and what colors you want to stay away from. But I wish I could zoom in so I could show you, really the separation between all these colors. You might have a kind of negative connotation with splotchism and not want to do all this kind of these broken stripes everywhere, these broken splotches. Because you think, oh man, that just looks kind of pixelated, right? Just to have a contemporary turn to it. But believe me, this is the first layer of this paint. And once we get into the subsequent glazing layers, all of this will turn into more interest, and you'll have the ability to really smooth out everything. Also, I think it's a little wider than the digital version. You think so? We checked our drawing and everything. What is wider? You did paint the stripe. Oh, the stripe under the eye. Yeah, probably. Yeah. Let's see. I mean, I could probably line it up because I can still see my... Yeah, this one right here goes down a bit further. Yeah, I can fix that real quick. Make a change to it. And that'll happen. The drawing will adjust. You will, if you're doing it correctly, you are going over your lines that you've created, and you're destroying your drawing somewhat. This is not, hey, good morning, Ashton. This is not paint by number. We don't want to do paint by number. We don't want to establish lines and then stay within those lines the whole time. What's important is that we trust all of the previous work that we've done and know that we could get back to it. It would just take a little bit of time. All right, let's focus on this ear up here. I feel like I need to get into a focused mode and get one thing done. We got 30 minutes left in the rest of the stream. And while I'm focusing on this, what time is it for me? It is 4:30 in the morning. I am on the West Coast, right under Seattle. Oh, you're in Central. 6:30 a.m. for me, and I'm in bed before I get up and get ready for classes. Yay! That's good. Yes, I agree with you, Thinker. Splotchism does work well with fur. It works well with skin too, which is a good way to see that in action is if you check out my stupid value. It's just crazy value that you can get on my Gumroad right now. I was really battling with this choice, but I went ahead and did it because the most important thing that I want to do for all artists is for them to be able to get to quality content without a lot of money, right? Not a lot of money up front. And considering every tutorial or course or whatever I put on Gumroad doesn't cost me anything extra. If I get extra sales on it, I went ahead and did it. And what I did is I changed the resources for the 53 days of downloads for traditional to digital to $1. You can get 50 days of downloads for $1. It's just ridiculous. And then also, even after that, I said, okay, I'm going to change the eye tutorial, the nose tutorial. Soon the mouth tutorial is going to be up there. Then after that will be an ear tutorial. All of those will be $1 as well. So if you want to take advantage of that awesome price, check out my Gumroad, link in the description. And you'll be able to see how well splotchism works on skin. Especially with the second layer, those glazing layers for the eye and the nose. My entire process. And then these aren't small tutorials either. The eye tutorial, I think, is like 7 hours of video, all instructed through the whole thing. And then the nose tutorial is about 3 or 4 hours, if I remember correctly. So yeah, ridiculous priced. Yeah, I want everybody to be able to easily take advantage of it. And let me know what you think. Your university was hacked. No Wi-Fi system being down, emails not working, a lot going on. Oh, I bet you the IT department is having a lot of fun. Somebody was insecure. Be careful. Yeah, I know a lot of classes really rely on technology now. So not having that kind of access would be detrimental. And I just dipped into the dark color. Okay, here's a tip for you. So I have 2 brushes going. One's a dark brush, one's a light brush. And if you do exactly what I did, like I dipped in some dark paint because I wasn't thinking. On my light brush, you can easily get back to a light brush. Just pull out a big chunk of titanium white, okay? And then mix it around in your brush on your palette. And you'll get this nice kind of grayish color. Well, now that, you know, all my colors are warm, it's a warm gray, and I can use that. I'm not wasting this color. It's a nice warm gray. And then I will pull that out of my brush with my paper towel. And then I'm basically, you can do that a couple times if you need to, depending on how dark your brush is. But I'm back to my lighter color with that brush. Done. Did I need to clean it with solvents? No. Did not need to clean that with solvents at all. Didn't even need to clean it with oil. Didn't need to waste my time on it. I'm back to painting, and then my brushes are back to where they are. Efficiency is the name of the game with art. With painting. If there's anything you can do to be more efficient, that's just going to help you tremendously with how you paint. What you do, like everything you do will be affected by it. If you look at a master artist, not me. If you look at, you know, let's say you look at a tutorial or a video, there's videos out of Richard Schmid painting. I'm trying to think of who else you could look at that would be a good example of this. Well, most artists that are really, really good at their craft, you'll see the same thing. Oil painters specifically. They're not working really fast. They're not throwing the paint around. What they're doing is they're thinking before they put anything down. And usually everything that they put down is put down once and done. So there's not a lot of fixing going on. They really kind of zone in. It's almost in a meditative state, a flow state, if you will. And their speed comes from efficiency and accuracy, not from throwing paint all over the place. Hey, Caleb. Can you use Gamblin solvent free stuff with Winsor & Newton oil paint? Yeah, definitely. I don't see why not. Yeah, I mean, so oil paint manufacturers, they all work upon the same basis. There's going to be either a linseed oil or a walnut oil within that's the medium, the vehicle for the pigment to move around, right? And yeah, and they're all going to be using that kind of same thing. So and it doesn't matter what pigment it is. The oils will all be the same. So yeah, it'll work just fine. I would use it. I'll use my solvent-free medium even with student paints, like the Winsor Newton cotton paints. And I forget the name of the student paints for Gamblin. I would even use it with the Geneva paints. Geneva paints are from Mark Carter. He has a great YouTube channel and website called Draw Mix Paint. And he came out with his own paint line. And it has all kinds of additives in it to keep the paint wet for 2 weeks or more. Mainly a lot of clove oil. But these are natural things that you can add into your own paint. Yeah, so it's all fairly natural materials, right? I mean, well, anything is natural. It's kind of like when, they advertise products. It's all natural. Well, even the worst thing out there for you has came from nature in some aspect, I guess. Anyway, it's all natural. I won't get into that. Hi, Olivia. I'm a beginner and I just seen your video on safe oil painting. Would you recommend getting safflower oil right off the bat for cleaning brushes, etc., instead of solvents? Yes. Well, it depends on how you paint, okay? For your health, if you're having health problems, if you really want to focus on your health, then I would say move away from solvents, you know, as soon as you can. But like one of the latest videos that I have out is finding your balance between what that is. And I always caution people of making, you know, these huge changes right away, because you may, I mean, you'll be changing up your entire process. And if you spend all this money and you hate it, it would probably keep you away from painting, because then you'll think, oh man, I need to do this because Chris said it's super safe for me and blah, blah, blah. I would say, you know, find your balance on it. It's taken me years to kind of create this way of painting so that I can be without solvents completely. And the best way to transition. So if you're using solvents now, maybe you, like I did years ago, you would start out drawing with solvents, put a block in with solvents, let that dry, and then you start with, you know, paint out of the tube with medium in it, right? I would say instead of buying stuff to clean your brushes, you know, or to make the bath right away, try starting out with just paint right out of the tube. In the instance that you're using solvents to paint with, try starting that way. See if you care, if you like it. If the paint's too thick and you can't move it around as much as you like, then you can either stick with solvents or try an alkyd medium, like the Galkyd Fluid medium by Gamblin would be good for that, because it will dry pretty quickly. So you could try that, or the non-solvent medium. Now for cleaning your brushes, you don't need to buy anything. If you clean your brushes after every single session, just use soap. Use the soap on the back of your, on the back of your sink, like dish soap will work. It'll be just fine. Or you can use, you know, a bar soap, like an ivory soap, I've heard works really well, because it has some natural oils and things in it. And then, you know, start there and then slowly make transition to the things that I pointed out in the non-solvent or non-toxic video, such as the oil bath with safflower oil and the Masters soap for cleaning your brushes. So make a slower transition to see if it's something that you like. If you paint in a really small studio, I would say try and make that transition sooner rather than later. Caleb says, okay, that brings me more clarity to products I'm using. Thank you heaps for the information. You're welcome. Hey, anytime. I'm glad to be able to help. Yeah, and let me know how it turns out. So when we get to the subsequent layers, a lot of this that I'm showing, that I'm painting here, well, some of it will be covered. But I would say the larger portion of it will just enhance these subsequent layers that we'll be working on. But even though that's the case, what I would like to do as well is mix up some of those crazy colors that we used in the past. Now, hopefully you remember, if you've watched before, what criteria I've used to make sure that, you know, really saturated or really different colors that you put on the canvas look accurate in some way. and it's all about value. Here's my example. So right here, this area of fur on the painting, which, let me see if I can actually be in the right place. Yeah, you can see that. Okay. It has a certain value to it. Actually, it needs to be a bit darker. I'd like to make it darker. But I want to go with a crazy magenta color, like this magenta, or the alizarin permanent that I have on my palette. So I'm going to darken it up with a little bit of burnt umber. That will neutralize it a bit as well. And I'm going to try it right on the edge of this stripe. Wow, see how dark that is? That's really dark. But it's really saturated. So now let's lighten it up, and I'll use some of the paint mixtures I have up here. This will probably lighten it up a bit. And I'm going to add that magenta there. Yeah, that darkened it up well. And then I'm going to take... Let me go back to my darker brush, although that one was pretty dark now anyways. We're going to make up a really dark teal color. It's not going to be crazy teal. That's the one thing about digital is, man, it's easy to get those super intense colors, right? So a dark teal type color. And I'm going to put that down here. It doesn't look very out of place now, does it? The reason why is because we're getting those values dialed in first. It's value that is the most important to understand. To know, to get right first within your mixtures. If you get the value right, you can use any color, any hue level, any chroma level, any saturation level, and it'll look just fine. You're welcome, Olivia. Oh, Thinker says Dawn dishwashing liquid is great for cutting through oil. They use it for cleaning up oil spills. That's true. Dawn works really well. And we have a friend, me and my wife, because my wife has been a zookeeper for years and years. We have a friend that works for the government that helps out with oil spills. And lots of birds, unfortunately. Oil spills happen so often, and most of the time they're not in the news. So often that she has a very busy position. And I remember her saying, yeah, we use Dawn. So that is true. I can confirm. Have you ever worked with a CMYK color palette? Yes, I have. So, CMYK, cyan, yellow, magenta, black. That's what it stands for. So when I was first starting out, I guess it wasn't first starting out, but I was getting deeper into color theory with a friend of mine in Florida when we were doing landscape paintings. And it was a lot of fun because we were looking at our printers. So your printer uses CMYK. So if you have an inkjet printer, I'm not sure those are still a thing. I guess they are a thing, yeah. It uses CMYK. And we figured, you know, no matter what color you have, just about, by the way, It can't get as intense as RGB, but that's neither here nor there about print quality. No matter what photo you have with your CMYK inkjet printer, you can print out every color on that photo, right? And we think, well, that's, you know, a physical paint process. It works closer to how watercolor paints work, right? Why can't we do the same thing with oil paint? So we found paints that were as close to process color as possible. So cyan, magenta, or cyan, yellow, and magenta. And of course, black was just, you know, any true black you can get. I think we used ivory black. Can't remember. And it was a wonderful way to just really learn color. But don't expect to paint anything really fast, because you had to really think about color theory, how to make every single color. Like, you have these super bright colors on your palette, and that's all you had was white. You had to have a white, a cyan, a yellow, a magenta, and a black. And you had to think, oh my God, how am I going to make this orange, this kind of dull orange color? And it would just be mixture after mixture after mixture, and then you finally get there. But the more you did that, the faster we would arrive at those mixtures. There are better ways to really force yourself to learn color theory, in my opinion. But that's one way, definitely. I think the best way to learn color theory, it starts with a limited palette. And I'm not going to say exactly, well, maybe I will, but I won't say exactly what limited palette is the best. Because, you know, it just really depends on what you're painting, you know, your subject matter. But trying to limit that palette would be very helpful. I think the most important thing, when we talk about color, you know, there's always three things that we say that's kind of packed within color, which is hue, value, and saturation, or chroma. And I feel like it's better to break that out into its subsequent parts. And like I was saying before, think about what is the most important, you know, to learn first. And then really focus on that. It doesn't matter what hue it is or saturation level if your values are right on. Okay? There's a lot of photos on Unsplash and Pexels right now. A lot of photos everywhere where photographers take portraits of people with all these really crazy colors of light, like neon lights all over the place. So you get these super intense pinks and purples and reds that you couldn't even achieve in paint. Because I've tried. It's really difficult. And yet it still looks like a person. You see a lot of contemporary artists that paint with really wild colors. You know, those still look like the object if it's representational. And that's because of the value. Andrew Tischler has a video on color mixing. His feeling is you can get significantly more vibrant colors with CMYK. That's interesting. I mean, Andrew Tischler knows his stuff. He does. I would listen to him. I'm not gonna refute that guy. Because I haven't got that deep into a CMYK palette. I would urge you to Well, I guess I'll ask you the question. So what do you want to paint? What are you painting? And what do you want your paintings to look like? Do you want them to be really bright and colorful? Or do you want them to be more tonal, all about value? Because you can still have paintings with color that are still all about value, very tonal looking. There are several tonalists out there as well that you can look at, but I consider myself maybe more a tonalist. Or I think in value all the time, rather than hue. I mean, Rembrandt. You know, I love Rembrandt. But you look at Van Gogh, you know, he began with nothing but tonalism. I mean, he loved Millet. Hey, good luck at class today, Ashton. You got this. Thanks for joining. So Van Gogh started out as a tonalist, really, and then just ended up loving color afterwards. And then focusing on color. But I think that's the right way to do things, in my opinion. Understand value so well it doesn't matter what the color is. And he knew value well. As crazy as his paintings are, he understood what he was doing through a lot of them. It's like, you wish you could just skip to my art class, but I have other stuff in the morning. Looking forward to sculpture class today. I'm working on something nice. Oh yeah, I totally, I can understand. Oh, I gotta get through all those prereqs just so you can get to what you love to do. Hey, don't just do it at school, you know? You can do art on your own time too. Have fun on your own time. Yeah, have a good day. Thanks for joining. Okay, it's not looking too bad for the ears. You know, kind of a good start, a good base, you know, of colors and things. Hopefully. I mean, I don't think I'm to an ugly stage on this painting yet. I say yet because it tends to happen a lot. I don't really subscribe to the idea that every stage of a painting should look good. I know there's a lot of artists that are like, no, every stage should look fantastic. I don't really care, as long as the end of it is good looking. But I usually have these stages where the painting kind of goes a bit ugly looking. It's like, wow, something's off, and I can't tell what the heck is off. Maybe this one won't hit that stage. Usually that happens a lot with figurative works. Because, you know, once you go through, the drawing adjusts, and even if it adjusts by just a little bit, you'll run into that kind of not so great stage. I want to see how intense I can make a color in orange. And I will say this, I would like to see what, I mean, I'm pretty sure that when he says vibrant, he means, you know, intense, you know, high chroma. I find nature has much more muted tones, but every now and then, e.g. tiger, you get very bright, vibrant colors. So I like having the option to go bright or muted. Yeah, I think that's a really good answer. You know, it's not either or, it's a yes and, right? Yes, I want to be able to paint vibrant colors, and I want to be able to paint. And now I'm using the word vibrant. So let's get our terminology right. I think that's really important. I'm going to assume that when Andrew Tischler says vibrant, or maybe when you say vibrant, that you mean high chroma. So paint right out of the tube. Okay, that is high. The highest chroma you can get on that particular color is it's right out of the tube. Yeah, very bright, vibrant colors. And then muted, when you say muted, that's going to be desaturated. So the other side of the spectrum. So less saturated colors. And I guess, you know, I would have to watch, you know, what he's talking about CMYK. Because if you want vibrant colors, just use what's right out of the tube, right? But I'm probably simplifying that way too much. I mean, if you're using a CMYK palette, that's all you have are super vibrant colors, because CMYK has to start at that end of the spectrum. It has to start as vibrant as possible, because it's through mixture that anytime you mix a paint, it gets less vibrant. That's universal. It's most saturated, has the highest chroma right out of the tube. And as soon as you mix it with something else, that's going to go down. No matter what. Mix it with white, it's going to go down. So if you work with a CMYK palette, you're inherently starting out with the most tremendous saturation you can possibly get in oil painting. So yeah, I can agree with him. You will start out with that extreme saturation, and you'll work from extreme saturation into everything else. So all these other colors, you know, alizarin permanent, transparent earth, orange, another orange, this ultramarine blue, but everything here, maybe except for the yellow and the red right now, and the white on my palette are desaturated colors. I think the Hansa yellow medium is synonymous with cadmium yellow medium, and then this one up here is synonymous with cadmium yellow or cadmium red light, and then obviously white is the same. So everything else is less saturated. I guess my point is on that is you can do it with any colors that you use, as long as you kind of understand where they're at on that level. So if you want your palette to have a huge range of saturation or chroma, then you will need to start out with the most pure color possible. There are processed yellows out there that you can buy. Processed magenta, processed red, I think, in oil paint, I believe. I'm pretty sure, I think I saw them. And they're just super, super vibrant, or super saturated. Keep saying that. They're very high on the value scale, and they're very intense as far as the chroma is concerned. Yeah, so I would agree with them. Does that make sense? Hopefully I wasn't just rambling while I'm trying to paint. Okay. That's looking pretty good. I think it's a good start for this layer. I'm actually moving my camera down right now, and I'll probably I'll keep the canvas where it's at. So tomorrow, and I apologize, my last stream I said tomorrow as well, but it didn't happen on Sunday. I think I'm not going to be streaming any Sunday, and I'll let you know if Saturdays will be included in that as well. But I will be streaming tomorrow, so I'll be here tomorrow. And just a repeat on the tutorials and all the resources for this live stream. The live stream has 53 days of downloads, just crazy downloads, and I've discounted that to $1. So it's a ridiculous deal, guys. Just take advantage of that. If you know any artists that could benefit from anything I teach here, have questions or I show, please let them know. Yeah, share this with anybody. The whole like and subscribe thing, is nice. If you want to do that, that's cool. But sharing it with others, I think, is even more important for me, because you know your friends, you know your family, and maybe I could help them too in some way. Yeah. And then also the tutorials that I have up there. I have a nose tutorial. I'm working on the mouth tutorial and an eye tutorial on there on my Gumroad. And those are $1 as well. 7 hours of video on the eye tutorial, all instructed throughout the whole thing. This entire process. And the nose is about 3 to 4 hours, all instructed, all for $1. So you can get all three for like $3. And the ones I'm going to be putting on there next are going to be the mouth tutorial and a nose tutorial. And then I'll have many more coming out. And I think I'm going to keep them all at that price point, $1. Just a stupid, crazy amount of value for you. I know what it's like to be an artist that doesn't have a lot of money to spend on these things and just wants to get better. And I want to help you get better at art as efficiently and as fast as we can. There we are. There's a stream for today. Thanks everyone for joining me, and I will see you tomorrow.